This week's chapter of Bleach the Theater Suicide continues, as Nanao Issei learns the true lineage of her family and activates her Zanpakuto for the first time in the series. I don't think anyone could have predicted how Nanao Issei was actually going to use her Zanpakuto in this chapter. I mean, I honestly didn't expect it was going to go down this way at all, because for the last couple of weeks they've been insinuating that there's the possibility that the other half of Shunsui's Zanpakuto is actually what belongs to Nanao. That is not the case whatsoever. If you guys remember, the little ninja girl who goes by the name of Kyo Coates is actually concealing her Zanpakuto in her face. I'm not quite sure how that works, but literally, she is hiding this wrapped up blade in her face, which she's able to summon, bring out, and give to Nanao. And this is where we start to learn about the importance of the sword and how it ties into Nanao's family. In fact, the chapter actually opens up with a flashback. We see a much younger version of Shunsui, and he's talking to this woman who looks a lot like Nanao. And apparently, this is his stepsister. This is who his brother is married to. A brother whom, unfortunately, they just don't get into that much in this chapter. But because his brother was married to this woman, that means he's technically sort of a part of their extended family. We get to learn, of course, that he didn't really have a great relationship with his brother. I'm not really sure what that's about. But when he was married to Nanao's mother, he loved him a lot more. Like, they had a much more loving relationship. They could actually stand each other. The problem is, the House of Issei has this curse on it. Just about every single member of the clan is female, and whenever they marry someone, that person dies a very early death. And because of that, the family is sort of cursed and carries on this burden. And Nanao's mother was actually trying to get rid of this curse by trying to find someone that she could love and live with forever, so this way she wouldn't have to be forced to go back to her family. Unfortunately, Shunsui's brother does die an early death, and she is forced to return to her family to live through the curse yet again. And in this family, there's only one Zanpakuto which is used, which is passed down in the different generations. And for Nanao, her time has finally come to use her Zanpakuto, the Shinken Hakkyouken. This thing is unlike any other Zanpakuto that we've seen in the series. It looks sort of like a traditional sword at first, but it's very different. It doesn't have a sharp blade, it's very blunt at the end, but it does have one very special ability. It can destroy divine beings. Gods, if you will. And this is not good news for Lille Barro, who claims himself to be a god and a divine being, so this is very clearly what's going to happen. Nanao is going to just wipe the floor with Lille Barro, and you know what? I'm okay with that. This is a twist that I really like, and she looks absolutely badass and beautiful in that final panel where she unwraps the sword and you see it for the very first time. Just so freaking epic. This chapter made me respect Shunsui so much, because the main reason that he was actually concealing this weapon was so that he could protect Nanao, and that's because he didn't want to give her the curse of her family. However, she is going to take on that burden, and she knows that she's going to conquer this curse, as it doesn't matter who she loves, because she realizes that who she loves is going to be able to get past such silly and trivial games and superstition. Of course, I believe she's jabbing Shunsui right in the ribs right there, but it's a really heartwarming scene and really brings these two characters a lot closer together. All the backstory aside, there's also this really cool action scene, which actually opens up in the beginning of the episode, with Lille Barro still transformed into his weird, freaky monster form, and I love the fact that he can, like, sort of contort his entire body, like, his whole face sort of, like, morphs into this, like, giant pancake-looking flat surface, which allows him to sort of look around and see things a lot better. And he also realizes that Shunsui and Nanao are actually hiding in this shadow, so he creates this giant blast of light to sort of bring them out. However, they use this to their advantage, and this is when Nanao actually emerges from a shadow on Lille Barro's face, which actually allows her to attack. And this is all at the beginning before we even get the reveal of what her Zanpakuto really does, especially when she actually unravels it. But the whole mystery behind that and how it was actually being hidden by the other half of Shunsui's Zanpakuto, I think is really, really clever. It's just a little strange that the ninja girl pulled it out of her face. Anime, manga logic, it's pretty freaking weird. I already really liked the character of Nanao before, but this chapter really solidified my love of the character. One of my favorite, if not my favorite female character from the series, just fantastic all around. The design of her Zanpakuto also just happens to look really cool and leads to some amazing artwork, especially that final panel. So what's the rundown on this week's chapter of Bleach? This one was really surprising. It had to hit you right in the feels, and I'm also really glad that Shunsui gets to keep both of his Zanpakuto, because that's something that made him really unique, and by giving up his other half to Nanao, I thought that that would have maybe sort of weakened him a little bit, but no, this was actually all a ruse. It was just meant to sort of hide her real weapon, as well as the history and curse of her family, which I think is really great and just draws the characters closer together and allows me to appreciate their relationship all the bit more. What I really loved about this chapter, though, was simply just the design of her Zanpakuto. It looks absolutely beautiful at the end. Sort of like a traditional sword with all these, like, diamonds embroidered on the actual blade, which is very blunt and not sharp at all. It's basically just, like, completely blunted at the very end of the blade, but it's going to have some sort of power to literally cut through divine beings or gods, so Lille Barro is screwed. They needed to find a way to be able to take out a divine being, and this seems like the perfect opportunity to do that. It is a little convenient that it's working out this way, but it was a great way to introduce Nanao a little bit more to the viewers and to get her whole backstory out of the way. However, I would have appreciated some more scenes with her and her mother, maybe a little bit with the family. They get through that really quick, and in many ways that's a good decision, but at the same time, I also want a little bit more, and I'm surprised by that because I'm usually not a very big fan of flashbacks, but there it is. That's just the way it's gotta be. What I will say is, I can't wait to see how this battle is going to wrap up, because as much as I want Nanao to be the one to actually finish off Lille Barro, I'm still not 100% sure it's going to happen that way. She still might need a little bit of help from Shunsui. Maybe they're going to attack together. Maybe she is going to be the true star of this battle, which I think is awesome. All I know is I don't want her character to die. I don't want anything like that to happen. Everybody's been saying that Nanao is going to die, and I just don't see that happening, especially after she just unleashed her Zanpakuto for the first time, and we can just assume that this is just like the first form. This is like the just normal released form of the sword. Like, we haven't seen like any other bigger abilities of that, and I'm sure we're not going to see that, and that's because really she hasn't really had the time to train with this blade, and that's because Shunsui's been holding on to it the entire time. But this will be a great excuse to finally see it in action. I hope it's really flashy, because it does have sort of just a normal standard design, and the way it's going to cut through enemies is probably going to look a little different from your typical Zanpakuto. On the technical side of things, this week's chapter looked really great. Fantastic artwork, lots of new characters who showed up, such as Nanao's mother, who looks almost identical to her, just a little bit older, and we also have a younger version of Shunsui that I don't even think that we've ever seen before, him just being his own typical lazy self. All of the artwork of Lille Barro at the beginning of the chapter with his face sort of twisting around and transforming looked really cool and really creepy, and all of the action scenes seemed really fast and fluid, especially with Nanao jumping out of Lille Barro's face from the shadow. That was really clever and looked really awesome. Again, this is another chapter of Bleach that just makes me long for the anime version of the series, if only to see how they would actually animate these characters, especially Lille Barro with all of his weird freaky transformations. That would look so freaking cool. So, this was a really informative, surprising, and awesome chapter. We get to see a character with a Zanpakuto that we've never seen before, and this is still not the end of the battle. It also had a really nice story and a great flashback that they got through really, really quick, and there was just lots of twists and turns for this chapter. To me, this was a perfect read of Bleach. I really loved this one quite a bit, so I'm going to give this week's chapter a 5 out of 5. That's right, my friends. Check it out. I thought it was a really exciting chapter of Bleach. But before you guys leave today, I want to hear your thoughts about this week's chapter. What did you think about the reveal of Nanao's Zanpakuto, the Shinken Hakkyouken? Do you think that Nanao is going to be the one to actually finish off this battle? Do you think that Shunsui is going to jump in? Do you think there's going to be a much stronger relationship between these two characters? Do you see it as more of a family relationship or more of like a loving relationship? Make sure to tell me in the comment section below, and also make sure to tell me what you guys want to see from the rest of the final arc of Bleach. Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!